Hello and welcome to Elevated and On the Go, where we're highlighting people that are inspiring, creating, and exploring with purpose. I'm Desiree Eckstein, known as Drone Diva Desi in the industry, and today I have the honor of sitting down to talk with Tom Dowling with the company Lens Capture Online. Tom, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. I love sharing the stories with you.
Thanks so much, Desi. Thank you so much. And yeah, we have great chemistry. When Desi and I get together, the conversation just starts to flow. We always have something to update each other on, so that's a lot of fun.
Yes, yes. Good times, good times. So let's just kick this off by telling us a little bit more about you and your background. Uh, Retired from New York Fire Department. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, well, I spent 40 years in public safety with the FDNY, the Fire Department of New York City, and I was always working at the intersection of technology and real world problems, trying to connect those things. Spent a portion of my career as a first responder out in the field, and I went up through the ranks. And I was also a photographer since the late 70s, early 80s. So storytelling was always like part of my life. And drones, weren't really a pivot for me. They were like a natural evolution of what I was already doing. And being able to put what I was doing in the first responder community, coupling drones with that, it was a huge connect that I helped lead my agency through before I retired. So, and now I'm adventuring. Okay. In retirement, we're out there, we're trying to adventure, RVing and going out there with the drones and getting involved with the community and all that stuff. So it's I have to say I've been living a good life.
Oh, I love it. And all of that resonates with me. I love all of that. So, tell us a little bit more about the photography side of things because your images are beautiful. Your stories, some
Oh,
of the
thank you.
stories that I've heard are so fun and entertaining. Tell us a little bit about the journey as far as photography.
So, I got started in photography in a weird way. I was handed a camera because the person holding the camera was scared for their life in the situation we were currently in, and they handed the camera to me and said, "Hey, do me a favor, you take some shots." And I did, and then I got woken up in the middle of the night and handed a camera and lenses and said, "You got to keep doing this because the stuff we got was great." And so that was a connect for me, and I think what really uh gets me with photography is that I get to share my experiences with others. Especially with photography, you get to stop time and frame it. And then moving into videography, being able to tell a story. So I've been doing that for a real long time and started just shooting. Then I started doing trying to get people together to shoot together. So I started doing photo walks in New York City and getting friends together, then getting people on the job together. Then all of a sudden, I had people from Europe reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, can you lead a tour?" So it became a natural side gig. I started doing photo tours. And, being a first responder, New York City Fire Department, I know of some really unique places that people don't normally get to see. Okay. And then getting access to those spaces uh, gave me the ability to bring people along for that adventure. So that adventuring was still part of it. I then actually started teaching some photography on the job as well. We have a photo forensic unit in the fire department that's used for a lot of different reasons to document incidents, to document history, to document training. to document those grip and grin shots when you're trying to ask politicians for money. And, they want to take the shot with all the uniform members in it. So I started teaching how to frame shots, simple stuff like, the things that when we look at photos as a photographer, I go, "Ooh, I just wish they would have framed that differently."
Mhm.
Like so. The teaching things like the rule of nines, perspective, converging lines, diagonals, and then, foregrounds and backgrounds, and all of a sudden, I had a group of people that started speaking the same language as me. So it was fun, and of course, out of that, I got into drones very, very early. I got into drones in 2011,
Mhm.
okay, 2012. And we had to do all crazy things with our drones back then to even try to share what we were doing with others, right? Hanging GoPros and we didn't really have gimbals at that point. And, I remember standing in a park in Queens, New York. In fact, it's a famous park. It's Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, where they had the World's Fair in the 60s. So there's a huge Unisphere there, and it's right by Citi Field where the New York Mets play, and it's on the approach to LaGuardia Airport. And the first time I was flying drones, and I was in this little RC park where they used to fly these control line planes. But it was a legal spot actually to fly drones. And what did we know back in 2011, 2012? And I remember having my drone about 200 feet above the ground. And I said to my buddy who was standing next to me with their drone, I said, "Hey, where's your drone right now? I'm really worried about, colliding." He says, "Oh, where are you?" I said, "I'm about 200 feet above us." He says, "It's okay. I'm about 3,000 feet up." And I'm like, What do you mean you're 3,000 feet up?" And they were like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm just checking." I said, "We're on the approach to LaGuardia Airport." But see, people didn't know anything, and there was no real education surrounding that stuff. Then, as time went on, a friend of mine had opened up a shop in Brooklyn, New York, called Brooklyn Drones, and he was repairing drones, mainly Phantoms, okay,
Mhm.
because
Okay.
that was the best drone out there, right? So I remember standing there with him, and all of a sudden, an engine company from the fire department pulled up front, and guys started getting off the rig and walking in, and he was like, "What am I going to get a fire inspection?" I go, "No, probably not. You're not really in that category to have inspections here." And they walked in and had a brown paper bag, and they emptied the brown paper bag on top of the counter. And it was, a Phantom in all kinds of disarray.
No.
Okay. So they said, "Hey, can this be fixed here?" And I remember him turning to me and going, "Hey, Chief, can this be fixed here?" And one of the members looked at me and recognized me and went, "Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh." So I asked the question, what's going on what are you guys doing flying this drone? Well, we were at a job and we flew the drone. Now, right in my head, I thought, uh-oh, uh, my, I would say one of my responsibilities on the job was the care and feeding of my crew, my team, right? But I think I spent most of my time keeping my members out of trouble. Uh, because honestly, at the end of the day, it was a very expensive adult daycare center. Okay. And so, I was like, right away in my head, I'm thinking, oh, we can't have hundreds of different guys and gals flying drones all over the city. And, just the liability there with operating as first responders and flying drones. We had to put some standards in place, and that's one thing you have to say about a job like that I came from is we're very strict. We have standards, standard operating procedures. We have what we call the books, number in thousands and thousands of pages on how to do different things and what's expected and all of that. So I at the time I was the deputy chief information officer for the job. I was responsible for technology development and systems. I had a staff of about 320 plus. And I said, you know what? This is technology, and we have to find a way to bring it into the job because it has nothing but value. Because getting back to the photography thing, what I found my drone to be was the best tripod I ever owned. Okay. Because it gave me a camera platform that most people never get to see that point of view,
Hmm.
that perspective. And I thought, well, wow, if I can bring this into the job, my mind started racing of all the things like we had members operating up on roofs, cutting openings during a fire, an active fire scene, because we got to vent the smoke and the heat and the steam and the gases out. And as an incident commander, you can visualize those members up operating up on the roof, but not until you send up a thermal imaging drone. Then you can see each and every one of them. But more importantly, now you can see the heat signatures below the roof line and say, hey, let's evacuate those members off of that. The risk is too high right now. And 10 minutes later, the roof collapses.
Wow.
So, you know, the case study that we used was we kept 8 members' names off our memorial wall.
Mm-hmm.
And, what's the cost of that? Right. So it was trying to bring that into the mix and make it part of the fabric of our response. And I'm proud to say that now, in fact, I'm wearing the t-shirt of the second
Ooh.
full-time drone unit,
Oh, look at
Robbie the robot.
that there.
Okay.
Hmm.
Command Tactical Unit number 2 now. So there's two full-time 24 by 7, 365 drone teams
Hmm.
that respond to incidents with the FDNY. And it's amazing to see that technology growing and far beyond what I ever thought it would be.
Yeah.
So, that's gratifying.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I knew having the conversation, hearing your stories, hearing your background was just going to be phenomenal. And you
I
definitely
appreciate that.
delivered right there. Awesome. Awesome. So let's segue a little bit because now you have the drones and you're now retired from that environment, but you're still very actively involved with many, many things. And so let's talk a little bit about the community and some of the outreach that you're doing. I am just so excited to participate for one. And then beyond that, your heart just goes out to everyone. That safety element is huge, obviously. And so tell us a little
Right.
bit about some of the community and the outreach you do.
Well, you know, the term retired, okay?
Means you're
Uh,
busier than ever.
yeah, I don't know where I had time to work, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing because word of advice, okay? A senior with a lot of experience and a lot of trips and falls. You don't want to be stuck sitting on a couch in retirement, okay, staring at a wall, because it won't be long before you check out. I I always have a thirst to learn. And then I have a thirst to share that what I've learned, right? So I saw a need for a space where people could learn, connect, and grow without ego, so to speak, right? Uh, whether you're brand new or you're experienced, the goal is the same. Share knowledge, fly smarter, build a real community around it. So when I got out here, I met up with a very unique individual. His name is Bob Dempsey. And those of you that don't know, Bob Dempsey started a group called Old Farts with Drones, which I thought was comical.
Mhm.
Okay. He started it basically as a goof because somebody in on a Facebook thread started bashing somebody for asking a simple question.
Mhm.
And really, what is a simple question? A simple question is nothing more than knowledge somebody's trying to gain from those around them. And when people take the approach that, oh, stupid, read the manual, oh, you should have done this, or that's ridiculous. That doesn't serve anybody.
No.
And so Bob started this group to say, hey, there are no stupid questions, right? Also, to find a way to get people off the couch, right? Seniors off the couch and doing something, looking forward to something. So he started that group called Old Farts with Drones, and it grew to, I don't know, it's something like 30,000 people in 102 countries now.
Yeah.
So I met up with this little leprechaun of the Las Vegas Valley, okay? And we got along right away, salt of the earth, him or his wife Audrey. We met up with them, Roz and I, and we got together and we started talking and together we co-founded the Vegas Drone Meetup. And
Yay.
by the way, for those of you that don't know, we suckered Desiree right into the mix too. So Desi is a board member on our little group. But we put together such a great group of people
Yeah.
that all share a mindset, right? We want to do this the right way for the right reasons, and we want to share our experience. But you know what I find? I learn more than people realize. Uh, I'm learning every day from these people who are, I don't know why, looking up to me for knowledge. And meanwhile, I'm just glamming whatever I can from them.
Yeah.
It happens, right? Each one teach one. And it's surprising on how cyclic that is that, whoever you were teaching before is now who you are learning from.
Hmm.
And that's great, man. That really fills my heart when that happens. So
Yeah.
we started this Vegas Drone Meetup where we bring people in from all walks of life to get together, regardless of their expertise. We look at the fact that everybody builds a little bit of confidence getting together and with people that share their interest.
Hmm.
And that is a wonderful thing to see people gather together. And we do it once a year. We run other things during the year, but we do this big meetup once a year in early November, and we attract industry people, influences, YouTube influences, people that are shooting commercially, the recreational group of folks, people that are like drones. I'm interested, but never even touched one wind up showing up, and politicians, which it's great to get politicians involved because now maybe they'll understand, what this technology is and how it benefits us.
Yes.
And then one of the things I wanted to ensure was that we involved public safety. And by exposing our community to those who fly these drones as first responders. So we've been fortunate. We've had Las Vegas Metro Police Department's drone team attend our sessions. The Henderson Police Department attends. In fact, last year we took 6 Henderson police officers into a Part 107 introductory course during the meetup, which was great. We have Red Rock Search and Rescue drone team, and one of our board members, Vaughn Hire, is a captain of their team. He's a retired lieutenant colonel out of the Air Force. He's a member of our board. So just connecting these people together, uh, just we have a blast in November. We really do. And if you haven't attended and you live in the Southwest, what are you waiting for?
Right. Right. And I will put a link into some of the information, maybe some of the past events. When I get ready to post this, we'll make sure that that's out there as well to invite people. The opportunity to network and meet. And, it's one thing to maybe sit behind the scenes on a Facebook group and, just kind of be scanning. And
Right.
yeah, there is that fear of, I'm afraid to ask any questions because of the repercussions that come. But to actually be there, and you really nailed it when you said there's a difference when you're learning, you're teaching, but you're still learning. And there's so much to share, and everybody has a little bit different take on things. And so it's really exciting to be standing next to somebody that's doing the same thing, but doing it a little differently.
A little different, right? A little and I can't tell you how many times I have these little epiphanies, okay, that I'm like, oh wow, man, I was today years old when I learned that. Okay? Like I didn't realize you could do that too. And that's great. I mean, that really jives me and gets me going when I see stuff like that.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So you do already have the dates for the one coming up this year, November.
Yes. November 6th, 7th, and 8th.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
And
So put that on the
we'll
calendar.
be getting more information out. Okay.
Yeah.
We usually the website should go, the new website should go live probably mid-May sometime. We have a huge project list. You saw it that we have to get
I
through.
did, yes.
Okay,
Pages,
so
pages.
and we need to, by the way, we need to sucker a few more people into the board. Okay, I
There you
mean,
go.
we got to get a few more people to join the board. Okay,
There you go. There's our shout out. I actually,
yeah,
I do want to do a shout out because Pilot Institute has been such a strong supporter and done
fantastic.
so
Yeah,
much for it. They've offered classes while they were there, among other people doing classes as well. But Pilot
yeah,
Institute, I want to do a big shout out for them because of their
absolutely.
involvement. Yeah.
They are. I mean, we couldn't have gotten luckier with this group of individuals at Pilot Institute, which, by the way, is has to be the world's largest remote pilot training entity out there.
Mhm.
And also manned aviation. This is what people don't realize.
Yeah.
They've been involved in manned aviation also. So having that background really makes them an industry leader when it comes to training. And could you get a nicer bunch of people?
Yeah.
Uh, Warm and inviting. You got Greg and Ben and Jason, and the list just goes on and on and on. Uh, well, let me give you some news, some special insight about this
Ooh,
year.
I love insight stuff. I love that.
Okay. We're doing workshops again this year. Okay.
Ooh,
But this year we're doing them for free.
what? You're
Okay.
kidding.
We are going to include an education day on Friday. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And usually the schedule works out to be, we have the social event Friday night, the happy hour, which is great because that's when you just relax and meet people and share stories and share an appetizer and maybe a an adult beverage. You don't have to, but you know before that on Friday last year we added the educational segment where we had these courses. I mean, very inexpensive, $25 per course. About each workshop was about an hour or so. We had a mapping course that was 2 sessions. But you know what? This year we thought, hey, why don't we just open this up to the registrants? Now, of course, we'll have to cap the capacity on each of the workshops. Okay. But people already, we charge a nominal amount to attend our meetup because, people are coming and we want to stage this right and we need to know head counts and we have to make arrangements for venues. So we're not doing this by the seat of our pants, believe me, folks. This is a lot of work that goes into this. But this year we said, hey, well, why don't we just offer the workshops for free for those who register for the event?
Mm,
And maybe they can attend 2 or 3 workshops. And also, when you're sitting next to somebody in a workshop and then you see them later on at the social hour, you already have that connection,
yes.
right? So you're already growing those contacts, but You know what I find out of this is you're growing friendships out of this.
Yeah,
And
good
you
point.
know what? We can't charge for that. I wish we could. We'd make a fortune. Okay. But this year, free workshops.
Nice, awesome. And that's great for the outreach as well.
And we already have Pilot Institute has already signed on.
Yay!
Okay.
Oh, I love it.
So
All right,
yeah,
November.
they're
Mark your
wonderful folks.
calendars, everybody. November.
November 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. All right, so I want to segue forward a little bit based on something you've already even mentioned, is that side of storytelling. So when we're talking about a higher perspective, that storytelling, that just kind of takes you outside. Get outside and explore and adventure
Yeah.
and tell a story. I know recently you have actually put together a film on a story of intaglios, and I know you have
Oh, yeah.
others, but I loved it. I loved what you did. So
Thank you.
tell us a little bit
Thank
about
you.
the storytelling aspect of it and some of the adventures you've gone on.
Well, the person I'm speaking to right now is the one that got me thinking about this because we went to hang out with Desi and Ken in Baus, Arizona.
Big town,
They
big
got a
town.
big town. Oh man, big town. Don't blink.
Yeah, right.
Uh and I guess you guys are like not a homestead, but you're kind of setting up like a harvest host location, and
Hmm.
it's a home away from home kind of thing. So we came to hang out with you, Ken, and also Deb and Keith came down, okay, from Las Vegas, and we got to hang together and go out adventuring. And then we came across the Bouse fishermen.
Hmm.
So what the Bouse fisherman is, it's a geoglyph. So people know the term petroglyphs,
Hmm.
carvings on the wall, right? But a geoglyph is a carving in the desert floor. And so Ken and Desi took us to the spot. And I remember it was funny because Ken, Desi, Keith, and Deb went hiking up to go see it. Well, Roz and I stayed at the car and launched the drone.
Hmm.
Okay. In fact, people who came down from the hike before you guys got back right away, they wanted to spy my screen. Like when you guys got back, you said the same thing. Hey, let's take a look at what Tom's got because you're looking at this carving in the desert floor from ground level, and it doesn't take any shape or form. But now when you see it from 50, 100, 200 feet up in the air, it's a huge 100 and something foot carving of a fisherman in the desert floor, and it was done 1,000 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And it's not like, at first I thought, okay, there were like hills around it, so somebody could stand up on the hill and go carve a little to the left. Okay.
Hmm.
No, there's nothing around this. So how did they do it and who did they do it for? So, of course, the interest right away. And Ken, in passing, said to me, oh, yeah, there's others, I think, in Blythe,
Yes.
California. So that's all he had to do. Well, I get home, I start my research, chat GPT, what do you know about this? And blah, blah. And I said, Roz, we're jumping in the car. And 3.5 hours later, we got to Blythe. We filmed 5 different geoglyphs, and they're known as intaglios.
Paglio, yeah.
And the Blythe intaglios are just amazing because one of them is 170 some odd feet in length.
Yeah.
And they were there until a pilot overflew it back in the early 30s and mentioned it to somebody.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, the interest sparked up. Well, back in the late, mid to late 70s, they actually had to start putting up fencing around it because people do silly things, unfortunately. And the one thing I want to do is record and document things the way they are
Hmm.
and then leave them the way they are. The old photographer's mindset of uh take your photos but only leave footsteps, don't leave anything else behind, you know. So I wanted to go out there and film these, and then I put together a script based, I was had the script in my head, put it together, and then, you know, when I do a lot of the Southwest stuff, this Brooklyn accent really doesn't go well all the time. So I created an AI alter ego narration voice, okay, that takes a little bit of the Brooklyn out of it. And I put together a script and did a narration and all that. And, just trying to share what we have in this country with others,
Mhm.
right? It's that's that whole thing that I bring back to split sharing our experiences with others. How do we do that?
Mhm.
And not everybody can get out to the desert. Not everybody has the same ability to record it or document it. And I'm there. I should. I feel like it's a responsibility to collect that and share it with others. So, that's the mindset that goes into putting those things together.
Yes, yes, and right up my thought patterns as well, because just preserving history is my main focus. And for us going out doing the desert thing, I want to be able to share it with others and preserve it and let it live on
Right.
in around the world, not just right here. It gives you an opportunity to share it with the world. And so
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
but
right up my
also sharing it in a responsible manner, right?
yes.
So, part of the problem we have in this community also is when we see stuff that people do and we know it's not right or not legal,
Mm.
we want to say something. We want to say something. Uh, what is Pilot Institute say all the time? Don't be that guy doing
Yes.
a stupid thing, because when people do stupid stuff with drones, it impacts all of us,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It impacts those of us that are doing good things with drones. So here's the best way I can put it. Responsibility brings access, not the other way around. Because when you're irresponsible, access is taken away from you. So we as a community have to be responsible. Safety is a huge thing. Uh, Impacting others, especially in the wilderness, because there's areas we can't fly and we shouldn't fly,
Right.
right? There's wilderness refuges that we shouldn't be in flying our drones at low altitude. Uh, we shouldn't be annoying people. We shouldn't go out of our way to annoy people. But at the same time, we should become ambassadors
Keywords
for
right
this
there.
technology, right?
Hmm.
And that's why I never say to, somebody says, hey, what are you filming? Hey, come over, take a look. I'll stay focused on what I'm doing, but hey, somebody can shoulder surf. And it's amazing when people do, because you got to see their eyes like, oh my goodness, look at that. Oh,
Hmm.
wow. Now, of course, I'm handing them my YouTube card, okay, to go watch my videos and, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. But at the same time, that might be somebody when a neighbor goes, oh, those damn drones, they can say, oh, you don't, wow, I saw somebody flying a drone and wow, it was amazing. Or you take it to the next step where that person's going to buy a drone.
Hmm.
Okay. So we've grown the community.
Yeah.
But again, when you grow the community and if somebody says to you, hey, I was thinking about getting a drone, the first thing I say to them is go to the drone zone and take the trust exam.
Yes. That's
There's
where you
no
start.
cost. And you know what? It's a good way to say, hey, do I want to take the next step? Oh, I got to be aware of these things, right? Yeah, okay, I'll take that responsibility to take the next step. And that's the one thing I thought we were lacking when drone sales started in the US was that way to connect the right way of doing things and of course out of the box the wrong way of doing things. I would always say, DJI would always come out with a new drone before Christmas,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And all I would say is, wow, the carnage on Christmas trees Christmas morning is going to be unbelievable. because people take their drones out of the box, put the batteries in, fly it right away, crashes into the Christmas tree,
Oh,
knocks the china off and that's the last time the drone ever gets used. So we want to make sure people know how to operate these things responsibly. And the first step is the trust exam.
yeah. Yeah. Perfect place to start right there. And it gives
Yeah,
awareness of airspace, things that are just unknown. Anytime you start on something new, you need to learn a little bit
right.
of the background about it. Awesome. So I want to talk, do a little sidestep here. You just mentioned something about, of course, I'm going to give them my card. So that was something I learned from you. So that is my weakness. I'm not one to speak out and hand cards or even carry them with me for that matter. So
Right.
since one of our outings, actually that particular one, and we met somebody and you handed the card, and I'm like, wow, just the strength to be able to hand somebody a card. And so ever since then, I started handing out a card, and that
That's
is
great.
excellent business advice. So it's really easy for me to say, oh, here's what we should do for business. But to see you in action doing it was really helpful. And that's where that community, standing next to somebody, learning from them, really is key.
Confidence builds. Yeah. Well, again, I wasn't cold calling people.
No,
I wasn't walking through quartzsite handing cards out.
not at all.
When
No.
people showed interest in me, I was like, you want to find out a little more? Here you go. And the other business advice I'll give you is today people are technology's embedded in with everybody. So you know what? On your card, throw throw a QR code on your card and they can take their phone and scan it. And, wow, they brought up your website already. Now, if I could only find a way where they scan that QR code and they're automatically subscribed to your YouTube channel, oh,
Oh,
that would be great.
next
But
step.
yeah, we want to give people choices in life, okay? But that when somebody says to me, "Wow, that's a cool shot," and I go, "Well, if you like that, I have adventure videos up online." Now, we just did that, in fact, a week ago out here. I heard, just surfing social media, I saw somebody put up something about land sailing and these people that go out there in these rigs and sails and rocket across the dry lake beds, with just the wind and tires on these, no engines or anything. I was like, wow, that would be something to capture. So Roz and I went out the first day and we couldn't figure out how to get into the spot. We drove for about an hour and a half down this trail, and my GPS said it was only 5 miles away, but I was doing 2.5 miles an hour. So I was like, oh, there's got to be a better way. So we backed out of that. Well, the next day, I said, I think I found going back Google Earth and figuring things. Well, Roz was right. It was tucked behind this little area in Prim, Nevada. It was behind one of the buildings there. The California Lottery building, in fact,
Oh,
was the
okay.
way in. And so we wound up going in, and there was this whole community out there, hundreds of RVs and like 200 plus land sales out there. And it happened to be the America's Cup of land sailing that week. So they were out
Wow.
there for the entire week. And so we went out there and we grabbed a little spot out of the way and tried not to get in anybody's way. And I threw the drone up and checking things out. And of course, somebody came over to us.
Hmm.
And Roz is my visual observer.
And she's excellent.
Okay. Oh, she's excellent at that.
Yes.
And, right away she interfaced with that person and I was still up in the air. And then I was bringing it in for a landing and they were watching and they were, oh, wow, that's cool. And handed them a card. Well, the
Mm.
next thing I know, we got somebody else approach us.
Wow.
And then I joined a couple of Facebook groups, land sailing, high desert land sales, this and that. And I went ahead and did my little storytelling YouTube video about it. And it just took off. People are now reaching out to me. We're doing land sailing at this place, or we're going here at that place, you
Oh.
know. So another source of adventures.
Oh, excellent. That's great business advice right there. I always say you need to
People will
get
clue
out
you
there
into
and
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
People reaching out to me and go, "Hey, do you know about this event or that event?" And I'm like, well, that's great.
Dang,
That's
you're gonna
great.
be really
Yeah, I'll
busy
take
now.
advantage of that. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. And so I'd like to wrap it up with maybe one last story. You always have such enjoyable stories. And I don't mean to just like pop off with this one, but I'm sure you can handle it. Tell me one of your most exciting adventures.
Wow. There's so many to choose from. Okay. Not all of them involve drones, but a lot of them
And
do.
they don't have
And well, you know what? Okay, so I'm going to give you one that I did some drone work with, but predominantly it wasn't. We found this spot called Willow Beach. It's along the Colorado River and started looking at it. We went down there one day. We took a drive down there and national park access because it's part of the Lake Mead recreational area, but it's south of the Hoover Dam. So we went down there and it was a marina, but we noticed they had an RV park up on this plateau. So we said, you know what? Let's do that. Let's make reservations to bring the RV there. And we have, and the reason I have an RV is because I can't get Roz to go camping. Okay. So I have to take a little five-star hotel suite with us everywhere. But it's great. It's great. So we go to this RV park and then the marina is only a mile down the road. And what was great about this RV park was it's not RVs next to each other. It's all dispersed.
Mm.
And it's beautiful. Hummingbirds, desert flowers were blooming. It was springtime. So we went down to the river and the marina there, and I started looking into, hey, why don't we rent a boat? So sure enough, we rented a 19-foot, 70 horsepower little runner. And we did that one because it allowed us to go north towards Hoover Dam because there are restrictions. So we packed a picnic lunch and I brought my Insta 360 camera,
Okay.
okay, and a selfie pole and a super clamp, and we clamped it to the side of the boat, and we just went out and we had a great time and kayakers all over, and then we pulled into this little protected cove, and we had a picnic lunch. And I remember the kayakers coming. And Roz even said, "Ooh, we should go kayaking." Yeah, not at this advanced stage. Uh, Because going is great. Coming back against current is where it gets difficult.
Yes.
And sure enough, we're sitting in this little cove and these people are paddling back past us and they're going against the current and they stop and look at us. And I remember one person in this little group turned around and said, wow, you guys did it the right way. Okay. So we turned around and we just had a great time. And I put together a video and I remember we had a waterfowl fly past us and then come around and land. And the great thing about the 360 camera was when I went back to the footage, I keyframed where he
Oh,
started from
right.
and I keyframed where he ended up. And it's just so cinematic to see him come across the bow and then land,
Oh,
off to our starboard side. And, so that was a great time. And then what we did was we said to the neighbors where we live, hey, you guys interested in going out with us? So we did the same thing again. We rented, we got our RV spot. They were doing the drive there and from, but we were staying overnight. And we rented a huge pontoon boat.
hmm.
And we took six other people with us on the pontoon boat, and we did the same thing, recorded it as we went and had a great time. And, so the the most exciting adventure? No, but it didn't have to be the most exciting. I
No.
would say that was my most relaxing
Yeah,
adventure.
there you go.
Okay.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, and it's just so rewarding.
yeah,
And, you make amazing memories. That's one of the things I always say, make great memories. And you
yeah,
do. That's exactly how you make great memories. So, well, Tom, thank you so much for joining us. I will make sure that we put some links in there when this posts, and we'll get your information out there. I thank you for joining us today. I thank everyone else for joining us today. Have fun, fly safe, but get out and enjoy life, right? Awesome.
absolutely. At the end of the day, whether it's public safety or flying a drone, it comes down to the same thing: awareness, responsibility, and respect for the space that you're in. And you know what? If you get it right, everything else falls in place.
There you go.
So, Desi, I have to say thank you so much for the platform.
No.
Okay. And you know what? Thank you so much for growing the community the way you're doing it. Because, one thing that I saw day one when I got into this community was uh it was all guys.
Mm,
And there's no barrier here. None whatsoever.
not at
Okay.
all. Hmm.
And growing our community and the diversity that is now part of our community is what fuels us moving forward. So thank you, Desi.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Look forward to seeing you in Vegas here soon. All right. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.